subscribers. If you enjoy our shows, would you please donate to help keep these going? We don't want to have to put traditional ads on these shows, but this does cost money, so we really do rely heavily on donations. To make a donation to the show, please go to our website, www.southgatemediagroup.com. Go to the page for the show, and in the upper right-hand corner is a donate button. It takes you right to PayPal, and you can donate whatever amount you want. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. And now, on with the show.
Hello and welcome to SuperConnectivity. This is your host. I'm just going to be Charlie Esser today. We're not going to come up with the special. We're getting old, and it's time to just be a little more serious about things.
Well,
how about you, Phil? Are you going to be serious?
Yeah, I'll be just Phil.
So it's Phil Parrish and Charlie Esser for a serious SuperConnectivity discussion. Can't even say my own podcast name. That's sad. Okay, so speaking of sad, Agent Carter had a very sad ending this week. And also sad, I was listening to our buddies over at Enough Said not be too impressed by it. I didn't get to listen to their whole show yet because I listened to our show just to see how the shorter format worked. Seemed okay. And I was listening to their show, and then we had to come and do this podcast, but they did not seem excessively pleased. And I do think they're wrong. Well, I actually really liked this episode, and I felt that it gave us a lot of very interesting switch ups, stuff that we probably weren't expecting. What did you think about this week's episode, Phil?
I liked it. I thought it continued, what they set up last week. I mean, you had action, you had drama, you had death, you had all that.
Yeah. Well, here's what really struck me on this episode, because it was interesting, and I guess I can sort of say that maybe it was a little light in the middle part of it. That maybe there was, and what I think it was I think that there was this kind of a misdirection where they were giving us this thing that would look very straightforward, very pat. And then the very end, I think there was this big switch that really struck me because, okay, when I'm watching it and I'm live tweeting it, and at the very end, when the mystery person whacks Krasmansky and the strongman, I thought Sousa was in the car with them, and I did this up. It's like, wait, did they just kill Sousa? Did Sousa just bite it? And then you go to the next scene. And Agent Carter's walking in, and everyone's sad. I really felt that was, they were conveying, yes, Sousa just got shot. And then you have the reveal that Sousa's behind her, and he's in that little sweater vest. And he's like, yeah, Krasmansky got shot. And it makes me think that Sousa is Hydra or Leviathan or something. Sousa is not the good guy. Because he makes a statement like, oh, who does an anonymous call? I knew something was up. But when we see him, he's the one getting the call, and he's the one rushing out. So he's not second-guessing it then. But after the fact, after Krasmansky gets shot, Sousa's like, oh, yeah, tragic business, this whole stuff. And I think that they just gave us something really interesting about the early infiltration of SSR by covert agents, And, of course, if we think back to Roxxon, speaking about, Roxxon having Stark's guys on the take, and Stark probably having some Roxxon guys on the takes, there seems to be this implication that, yeah, there's a lot of double dealing going on in this universe.
But I don't know. If they have Hydra as anyone in SSR, I could see, what's their boss's name? The chief?
O'Doyle.
Yeah, I could see O'Doyle being Hydra just because he's still dead set. I mean, story-wise, they probably have to do it this way, but he's just still dead set on blaming everything on Howard Stark.
Well, you see, and I think that, he's the last guy I would suspect of being Hydra, because I think he's too, basically, I don't think they're going to be that subtle about it. I think I think O'Doyle is very much he's your classic 1950s hard-nosed patriot. He doesn't trust Stark because he does not respect the institutions that they serve. He's in contempt of Congress. Now, whether or not Congress is infiltrated or corrupted, who's to say? But he is your typical law and order kind of tough guy, and I well cast, by the way. I do not think you could have did better than the former sheriff of Atlantic City.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I
You
mean,
watched
he
Boardwalk
really.
Empire too?
Oh yeah, I love Boardwalk Empire. That was a great
Oh,
show.
oh yeah,
I
it was. I found it ironic that every episode he has someone to call Thompson.
yes, yeah. But I love any show where men wear hats. It's just
Okay.
people should wear hats. Anyway, but no, here's what really got me. So that I found very interesting, and I really liked that switch. And there was a lot, and I can see where some people might be a little soft on this episode. And one of the things that kind of is interesting is, well, they just got all of Howard's stuff back, and that kind of wraps things up now. Well, that's interesting, because well, they still got to find Stark, but at least they found all of his stuff, except for the one thing that Leviathan wanted. And that got me thinking, what was the one thing Leviathan wanted? And when we got our promo teaser, they're doing all these references to the legacy of Captain America. And what I think is going to be the rest of this story is Stark was after Cap dies, Stark continued on working on making on an Operation Rebirth and trying. It got me thinking. Maybe the Avengers was Howard Stark's idea. Maybe, and specifically Tony's Avengers, which is that this privatized of people, of heroes that he feels are because the military and superheroes aren't really to be trusted, because if the military has superheroes, they're just going to get into an arms race. But if if Howard Stark, world's smartest man, puts together these heroes, then they can be trusted. That's your whole Civil War plotline there. And they were talking about part of an Avengers of Tony resurrecting this old program from Howard Stark, and I'm wondering, and of course everyone's assuming that's Ultron, but I'm thinking maybe the program he's resurrecting is Howard Stark's idea of the Avengers. And this is what kind of got me interested in this. And this is just get really into the weeds on this for a minute. I was doing research because I'm obsessed with Dottie Underwood, who is a character that I think got introduced in the second episode, and actually she's going to be 7 of the episodes. And so there's some speculation as to, is she going to be a villain? Is she going to be, because they introduced her in such a kind of forced way, it just made everyone go, oh, who's this person? And I'm wondering, could she be Miss America? And I was doing research on Miss America. Oh, incidentally, the only Underwood I could find, which is interesting, is Samuel Underwood, who was a guy who tried to get Captain America to run for president on the New Populist Party. And in at least one What If, that party they actually got the 1950s Cap to run, and they were kind of a fascist government. So interesting little side note. So there could be some ties to there for villainy if we want to dig that deep. But here's what I found interesting about Miss America is that in the 90s Spider-Man cartoon, where they did this sort of recreation of the All Winners Squad, Miss America was actually an attempt to recreate the Super Soldier Serum with Miss America, and her power set that they gave her was actually very similar to the power sets of the Vision, who is, of course, going to be in Avengers. So it got me wondering if Howard Stark is continuing on. I don't know if we're going to get Miss America as the Vision or anything like that, but it makes me wonder if Howard Stark is working on this super-powered protocol on recreating Captain America, recreating other humanoid, superhuman heroes like Captain America. And that's what Leviathan wanted. If this is actually going to not only tie into that when we get to the end, if that's going to tie into Avengers. This is ending in February, and of course Avengers is in May, right? May?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be a short trip from Carter back to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. right up to Avengers. So I think what you're going to get at the end of this, I think you're going to get Howard Stark's Avengers Protocol, which is going to lead into the Marvel Miracles, of which Sky is now one, I suppose, running up into Avengers, which is going to tie the two things together and set us up for Ant-Man. Because I actually think we're going to get that was another thing, was something I realized, because old Howard Stark is in Ant-Man, which makes me wonder, and if there is some ties to the Ultron program with Howard Stark as well, because right now they're saying that the Ultron is a Chitauri program, a Chitauri AI that goes nuts. But maybe we are going to get Hank Pym having something to do with Ultron's origins with Howard Stark, or maybe just Ant-Man as one of Howard Stark's Avengers.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I wonder, even at the end of Age of Carter, maybe we'll see Howard Stark with a young Hank Pym.
Oh, that would be awesome. Young, of course, for the timeline, he's going to have to be like teenage genius Hank Pym, you know?
Yeah, but isn't he older in the movie though?
Well, he's older in the movie, but he's still Michael Douglas, who was he was in his 20s in like the 60s and 70s, you know.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So he's he's older than Robert Downey Jr., but he's younger than, Captain America.
Yeah. Unless the last episode they do a little flash forward.
Oh well, yeah, they certainly could, and then we could get young Ant-Man in the Avengers Protocol, or however they're going to work it out. But yeah, I just found that interesting in going to the cartoon and saying, oh, the power set they gave her was to adjust her density so that she's actually kind of like the Vision, who is going to be in Avengers. And, I found that to be an interesting bit there. And I'm actually really excited, especially because I think that there is this movement towards something very big reveal, some big reveal in this. And, for what it's worth, we know when we get to the Peggy Carter short, what she gets is this Zodiac formula, which, although is not the Zodiac key that was in the comics, and again, to go to the cartoons, seems to be the Zodiac, seems to be a formula that is a super soldier formula, which in the Ultimate Spider-Man, the new cartoon Ultimate Spider-Man, is their Power Man formula. That his parents, because it's the teenage Power Man, whose parents were scientists for S.H.I.E.L.D., and they created this Zodiac formula, which was the Power Man formula. So it's interesting that if you do this cross line, if you assume some cross line connectivity, we could be looking at stuff that's going to be opening up, leading into our Power Man Netflix series, if that Zodiac formula comes back for Power Man, because there's nothing to say that formula, which Peggy does recover, doesn't get tested down there at Seagate Prison. Yeah, think about that for a moment. So, yeah, I think we're definitely moving rapidly towards the superheroification of the golden age of the MCU. And I think I would be surprised if we do not have a Wizard by the end of this, or at least a Miss America somehow, because I think that's what they're moving towards. I think they want to have this idea of an expanded superheroic universe. Under the radar, of course. I mean, heck, we might even get the Blue Marvel, and that could be interesting. Although I think the Blue Marvel story is something that's really big and powerful and deserving of its own series. I don't know if you want to just tack them on at the end. I think you could get away with the Wizard and Miss America at the end of Agent Carter. I don't know if you could do the Blue Marvel. Although if we do get the Wizard and Miss America, then that gives us our line straight into Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver.
Yeah.
It all connects. Okay. Do you have anything else you want to talk about the MCU?
I don't think so. We're going to talk about the Avengers trailer, the new one.
Oh, I have not even seen it yet.
It's some more. It's more action scenes. I mean, it really didn't reveal. I don't think that much more, but
Yeah.
just the fact that a new trailer came out.
Yeah, I saw a new trailer and I'm like, oh, I gotta watch it. I gotta watch that. But I can't watch videos at my day job, and then I get home and I don't know why I just don't get the chance to. I just
Mm.
there's so much running around, and that was the great thing about my night job was I actually if I wanted to, I could sit on the computer during my night job because it was dead because it was a night job, and I could actually check stuff out. I had that 5 minutes when everyone was asleep, and I could go do something. It was lovely. Now I've got a day job like most of the world, and now I'm living like normal people. I used to be better than you saps working day jobs.
Whoa. But not to bring up a sore subject, but did you all the newest thing online now is they're saying Sony and Marvel have cut a deal. Spider-Man, there's not enough time to get Spider-Man in Civil War except for maybe a teaser at the end. But now they're talking Spider-Man in Infinity War.
Yeah, well, I'll believe it when someone at either Sony or Marvel says it. You may recall this, but during the Avengers movie, there was someone that was theoretically on set in a Spider-Man costume. But that seems to not have gone anywhere. And and all these things come out, but at this point, Sony has officially denied it. I'm sure there's negotiations about it. I just, I'll believe it when it happens. I look forward to it if it ever happens, but the economics of it are hard on both sides. But you know what? It wouldn't surprise me because, as we said, I mean, with the things that Sony went through recently, I think that they could be looking at divesting themselves of some of these properties because I think that they may not see it as valuable to them as a company as a whole. That having the Spider-Man, it's nice to have it, and it makes money even if the ones they do aren't as good as other versions of the character that they've done. But it's always this big crapshoot, and I could very easily see them taking the money and run. I don't, I guess here's what I'll say. I think that if Disney gets Spider-Man, I don't know if putting Spider-Man in the Avengers is that good of an idea. I mean, it's like this. If you're going to put Spider-Man in the Avengers, and so now he's just, another Hulk, he's another character, I think that so sells short Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man's only valuable, I won't say only valuable to Marvel as a standalone character that is going to have his own series, his own movie series or TV series or whatever. But I think that is useful. I don't think just plopping him into Avengers, either in a background or just as something in a passing reference, that just doesn't seem like that is worth that much to Marvel. And I think that really, if you put him into Avengers, it's it kind of just crowds the screen.
Yeah, but do you think part one of Infinity War, perhaps there's still going to be two Avengers teams, after Civil War and everything, and you're just going to have everybody on screen on one of these two teams, all the Doctor Stranges and Spider-Mans, and then by Infinity War Part 2, it's going to be the Avengers and Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, everyone else, and maybe even Guardians against Thanos.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could have that, and that's fine, but you got to remember all those other characters had their moments to build themselves. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like, for whatever else you want to say about the Hulk, he did have two movies prior to being stuck in as only the Avengers character, we may never get the World War Hulk or a big Hulk movie, but he got his backstory, he's got his pathos and his story out there. And for everyone else, for Doctor, they're all going to have separate places that they're growing and building. Mm-hmm. I just don't think that you stick Spider-Man. Basically, if you're gonna put Spider-Man in the Avengers and just say, well, here's Peter Parker, I got bit by a spider and now I got powers. I don't think that is useful to Marvel, especially if it's not an established Spider-Man. And if it's not Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire, it's kind of like, well, okay, here's this guy, It just,
Well,
yeah.
you were talking about the Hulk and everything about having the 2 movies before he became into the Avengers. But I mean, if you count all the Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, these Spider-Mans had 5 movies, and if there's one Marvel character that probably 90% of the planet knows, it's Spider-Man.
Oh well, certainly, and to that and I would say yeah, you could do that, and even replacing Andrew Garfield, within the continuity of that universe or the Tobey Maguire universe with a new actor as Spider-Man is possible, except for the fact that neither one of those universes were Marvel movies. I wouldn't, as an example, I would not expect if they bring the Punisher in. But let me put it this: I don't expect the Daredevil series to make reference to the Daredevil movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't a Marvel movie. It wasn't under the auspices of either the Marvel production house or the Disney production house. In the way that the Hulk was. The Hulk was always under the Marvel Studios banner. Even though it was done in conjunction with Universal, it was under the Marvel Studios banner. And so Marvel had their fingers in that pie when that movie was made. And that I don't think they had their fingers in as much with Daredevil or any of the other films that have been made with them. So
yeah,
I mean,
I forgot about that. We could see Daredevil in the movie because the Netflix series starts in April.
oh well, certainly I expect Daredevil to be somewhere in all of this. That's the thing. I expect maybe not as a character, maybe not even as an Avenger, but as something, especially anything going on in New York. I could definitely see him being somehow involved, at least referenced. And that's the thing. It's like you can have the Oscorp building or Spider-Man swinging in the background during something in Avengers, or just like they had in Iron Man, where you just see that footage going, and that's great. Like you see when in Iron Man 2, and you see the Hulk footage in the background and all that kind of stuff. That's great, except that if you do that with Spider-Man, you're just doing that in the background, as cross promotion again for the Sony picture. Which what is Disney's impetus to do that? Why should Disney promote a Sony picture that they don't have creative control over? And that's the thing. I mean, like I said, it's all about creative control. And if Marvel gets the creative control over Spider-Man, I'm sure they want to do something great with it. But I don't think what they want to do is just to do a cameo in the Avengers. I don't. Basically, here's what I'll say: if Marvel and Sony signed a deal, it's for a Spider-Man movie in the MCU, not for Spider-Man to pop up in Avengers. Because I don't think that serves anybody's purpose.
But do you think they could have signed a deal for a movie, but first they're going to throw him in Avengers?
Oh well, I mean, sure, you could do that. You could have Spider-Man be the end credit scene. You could have whatever's going on, and then a young kid being bit by a spider. Heck, even have that young kid in a couple of scenes. This little you would have a little science nerd trying to get that Stark Science Fair project. Going up against Amadeus Cho, his arch rival, like he is in the series. Cho. And and then he gets bit by this spider that had beta ray exposure.
Yeah.
Spider ray experiments on spiders. That's the new explanation. Oh, but speaking of Avengers, we got a new Avengers comic book out this week with the big title, "In 4 months, Secret Wars." Did you read that one?
Yes, I did.
And we get a big status shift in our 616 universe with the apparent murder of Namor by Black Bolt and
Black Panther.
Black Panther. And what did you think of that? Did you think Namor would go out like that?
No.
Yeah, it was a shock. Oh. And this is leading us to, and of course that means also the Cabal is dead, which is Thanos and the extra Drax. So we're now sans of Thanos going into this. A lot of things have happened in this book. We've lost our Black Swan. And did we lose Maximus on this? I'm not quite sure. Was Maximus there, or was Maximus smart enough to realize that it was a trap?
I thought they were saying, hold on, it's right here. I thought they said they were all going, perhaps.
Oh
So
yes, yeah, yeah.
I thought it was
Maximus
supposed
was
to be the
saying
whole cabal.
they're all very insistent that we all go this time, and Admiral Akbar would say it was a trap. Yep, there they are. And then Namor tries to run, and Black Panther says, "Nope, this is where you get in trouble for that Phoenix storyline." Although great reference in that book also to the constantly shifting face of Hank McCoy, and that he is now officially no longer cat. They have decided that no, he's back to just being bestial, not cat.
But I'm thinking Secret Wars. I don't know if it's gonna be a total reboot, but stuff's gonna get shifted around. The reality's gonna have to alter in some way, because now Namor's supposedly dead in the Marvel Universe. Wolverine's supposedly dead.
Yeah.
If we've lost Thanos and the whole cabal.
Yes, but we still have Doom. Yes, and yeah, it's still hard for me to figure out where this falls within Axis. If the Axis is before this or after this, or if it was all concurrent.
I would think it. Well, if the Avengers storyline is a couple months in the future, shouldn't Axis be before it?
Yeah, Axis should have been before it, and that seems to be where they were at. And of course, they had the superior Iron Man in a couple weeks ago. So yeah, so presumably it is all before it. But now we are officially with our understanding that in the next 4 months, these events do tie directly into Secret Wars. The White events are coming right into Secret Wars, and the heroes have sort of made friends again, apparently, at least somewhat. Tolerable.
Yeah.
Old Captain America, he's not too happy about his ally, but what these guys have been doing. But it's where they're at. It's fair enough,
Yeah, I don't think Steve Rogers appreciated the mind wipe. He even made a comment about it.
Well, yeah, that was pretty dirty pool there. I mean, I think we can all that was not cool. You don't mind wipe Steve Rogers, because I mean, really, in all honesty, what this all comes down to is that what the Illuminati did is basically what they're mad at Steve Rogers for doing now, because you're not listening to us, you're not hearing us out. It's like, well, that's because let's face it, you didn't want to listen to me, you didn't want to hear me out. You just said, he's trouble, let's just get rid of him. And they really overstepped the bounds there.
Oh yeah, Steve's like, you didn't want a conscience, so I'm afraid of what you're gonna do if you didn't want a conscience around.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. And they really did do bad, man. They killed an alternate Superman. It just blowed him right up.
Well, Namor blew the whole planet up.
Yeah, well, that's who it was. Was the and that was the thing is, it was they found that little Justice League world where they were doing their thing, and they all just totally, I mean, even Doctor Strange, he starts conjuring up, freaking Cthulhu and that. It's like, you guys did exactly what Steve Rogers said they would do. He says, look, I know you guys. You're going to say we're only going to do this as a last resort, and then you're going to do it. And that's exactly what they did. They said, we're only going to have this as a last resort. We're going to find other ways, but we got to have this as the last resort. And then little by little, they all just sold their souls until they were there. And sure, they all turned away at the end, and they would say, well, we'll all just accept death. But, once you make the bomb, then you've got Namor, all you need is one loose cannon, And that's what happened, was one person decided, you know what, I really don't care. I'm going to save the trillions of lives and my own planet, because, I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing. If you really wanted to be a hero and be noble in that moment, you blow up your own planet,
Mm-hmm.
You say, okay, yeah, we have this super weapon, and we can, destroy your planet or our planet. I guess we'll have to destroy our planet, because that would be the only really noble thing to do.
Well, but you also have billions of innocent people on this planet also.
Yeah.
And then I guess they could figure well, even if we do kill ourselves, this thing is going to keep going on, and who knows if anyone else is going to be able to stop it.
Yeah, well, but that's the thing on both sides there. So either one of them could have killed each other. So it's a question: is do we kill ourselves? Do we kill you? And and that's the basic moral dilemma that Steve Rogers was trying to say, is that you can't. That basically, if you build this bomb, that's where you put yourself. Is either we're going to blow you up or we're going to blow ourselves up. And not for nothing, let's be honest here. Because you have the bomb, you're maybe less because you spent that time building a bomb. Maybe you didn't spend enough time figuring out how to solve the problem or getting to the source of the problem. Which is really where you have to go in this, and what that's going to be, whether or not the source of the problem is the Beyonder or the creation of the Molecule Man. That whatever was the cause of this is going to trace back to the 616 in some way. That it's going to be, that thing we did on Earth that one time. Yeah, that's the problem.
I think it's going to be all the time travel stuff between Age of Ultron and everything else. Didn't they say that the time stream was like Swiss, kind of like Swiss cheese?
Oh,
they damaged it so much.
Yeah, which of course then Hank Pym goes and exacerbate, or not Hank Pym, Hank McCoy goes and exacerbates more by bringing the original X-Men to the future.
Mm-hmm.
Why not? Why not, indeed?
I mean, all the time traveling the X-Men themselves have just done over the years.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was the whole thing. It's like, you can't do this all the time,
Yeah. Well, have you been reading Guardians 3000?
No, I have not. And I'm sad that I have not,
Because the big thing in that book is they keep saying that they're trying to figure out, I think they're going to go into the past, because they keep saying something in the past the future keeps like resetting and altering, and events like replaying out, and they're like, something in the past keeps altering the future.
Oh, see, now that's interesting, because when the new Guardians of the Galaxy came out, the new book, and when I was reading that when it first came out, that was sort of the story that was going on, was Starhawk fell into the past and then kept on switching between the female Starhawk and the male Starhawk, but no one was noticing. Like, what are you talking about? What do you mean you were a woman just 3 seconds ago? Because of course they were aware. Starhawk was aware of the changes because of the damage to the timeline, and this is actually even before Age of Ultron. This storyline is happening, and so that's interesting. Of course, the timeline has always been a little fractured when it came to the Guardians. And I'm waiting for the reveal that actually it's all Franklin Richards' fault, that he's been messing with the timeline since he was conceived, because and that's why it took like 4 years for him to be born, and then right after he was born, that's when time starts dilating and time starts changing and shifting.
Yeah, so they're in space in the year 3014, and they're heading for they keep calling it the sleeping hungers. I wonder who that is. Galactus?
Probably. Although, as was suggested, that's Franklin in the Fantastic Four, when they had adult Franklin come back to the past, and he and young Franklin sort of work together, and they resurrect, because Galactus dies, and they resurrect him because he's now his Galactus. And I always wanted my own Galactus. And of course, in what is it, the X universe, actually, Franklin Richards becomes Galactus. And they make the comment that so long as he believes himself to be Galactus, he will be Galactus, because he needed to sort of replace Galactus and be the new Galactus. Which is interesting, because of course you have to have a balanced universe, and apparently a Galactus is important for a well-balanced universe.
Oh yeah, they've been saying that since the John Byrne Fantastic Four run.
Yeah, well, of course. Well, John Byrne, really, say what you want about him, he is such an influential writer in the Marvel Universe, and especially because of what he done Fantastic Four. It really shows, and why I really worry about the end of the Fantastic Four, because even though it was never, to be the biggest book in Marvel, it was always a central book in Marvel. And it was really, I kind of always felt that was the book where the intellectual side of Marvel got to play, where, it wasn't just, adventure. It was, here's how the Marvel universe, here's how time travel works in the Marvel universe. Here's how this works in the Marvel universe and that works in the Marvel universe. Especially because it was the Explorer book. It was the book of the guys exploring the universe, exploring dimensions, and so that was where they were going to explain, here's how everything works. And so although I doubt Fantastic Four is going to be really gone, any more than Captain America was gone when his series officially ended in 2001, and they blew him up with an atom bomb. Well, not an atom bomb, but he defused the atom bomb, but he still got blown up, and they said he is definitely dead. 100% Captain America is dead, never to return, and they had the whole warning process for him, and they ended the book. And then, like 6 months later, they brought it, sort of rebooted it with him fighting terrorists, because
If not before, probably after Secret Wars, after that movie comes out.
That movie's not coming out.
Really? Because
that movie is not coming out. I honestly think they maybe thought they wanted to make it, but I think at this point they're just saying, well, it's like the Roger Corman Fantastic Four at this point. In fact, I think this movie could give the Roger Corman Fantastic Four a real run for its money for worst Fantastic Four.
I think they have to. Isn't that part of the deal?
They have to make it.
They have to make a movie, or else the rights revert to Marvel again.
Yeah, well, as I understand, because they never released Corman's Fantastic Four, so I think they just have to make it. They don't actually have to release it. And I think that maybe their original intention was to make it, but I think at this point, I think that maybe Fox is going like, you know what? Let's just keep our rights and sort of reassess where we're going to be with this. I will be surprised if this movie ever sees the light of day.
I didn't read it, but I thought I saw a headline online, was it yesterday maybe, that said, here are the details of the new Fantastic Four movie if anyone cares.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, they've got details out there. They've given us a couple of stills, but, they're certainly not promoting it in the way that, like, any other film is being promoted, you're not getting any kind of footage. You're not getting any, and I'm sorry, this is the Fantastic Four. They need leaks. Fantastic Four needs leaks because you need stuff to get people interested. And the one leak they had of the Thing bust, that was like, oh, well, that's a nice bust of the Thing. I would like to see that thing. That looks like a good thing. Dr. Doom went over fairly poorly, but all things being equal, you can't have everything, and maybe if they gave us more of Dr. Doom, would say, oh, okay, I see where they're going with this Dr. Doom, and I can live with that, If it's like maybe a techno-organic armor kind of thing, that might be kind of, oh, that's kind of interesting, that's kind of awesome,
Or have them using magic as well with science.
Well, exactly, you could do something interesting with it, and that'd be wonderful, but they're not, and they're not giving us these reveals. They're not doing anything to make people be excited about it, and that tells me that, what? They're not that excited about it. I think that they realize, I kind of feel like this is kind of like the Edgar Wright Ant-Man kind of problem, where they sort of gave an auteur a lot of rope, and then, whereas Edgar Wright just sort of sat on the script and never did anything with it, this guy's actually trying to do something with it, and they're kind of like, oh, this isn't working. This is not what we want, Edgar Wright at least had the common decency to just, keep on going back and forth, but well, let's do it this way, let's do it that way. And they're like, it's not really where we want to go, Yeah. And, and so, yeah, I do not think we're going to get that Fantastic Four movie. I really don't. And, I think had they really done an Ultimate Fantastic Four, that might have been an interesting take on it, Although, for what it's worth, I like the idea that Ben Grimm is much more of a contemporary of Reed Richards rather than just being, the big dumb guy that was his buddy, which they kind of did in Ultimate Fantastic Four. He wasn't a fighter pilot. He didn't go to Empire State University. Because that's the thing, I mean, the 616 thing, he probably has his master's degree. He probably, he was a test pilot. And the rockets, he flew rockets. He probably has an advanced degree as an astronaut,
Yeah.
He is, and when even right back to that first Fantastic Four, he's talking the technical specs of the ship with Reed. That first issue, he's saying, "Look, Reed, I know you know your stuff, but trust me, I know rockets, and I don't think you got all the details right. I don't think you got enough protection against the cosmic rays." And he was right. Dang it! He was smarter than Reed Richards. And if you think about it, and this is my thing, I've always said, people only think the Thing is dumb because he's always standing right next to Reed Richards.
Yeah.
And I always feel that that's something that anyone who wants to do it should explore that with the Thing. Is like, no, actually, he's not dumb. He's actually a really smart guy because he's best friends with the world's smartest man. Do you think the world's smartest man would really be best friends with just some dumb guy? No, he's best friends with a guy who can keep up with him and doesn't try to compete with on brains. Because he is the world's smartest man. He is still Reed Richards. But, if he was just some dumb guy who, as they often play him out to be, he would not. And part of that is just because the Thing's very self-deprecating. And, even though he is a rocket scientist, fancy to say, hey, I'm no rocket scientist. But, just once I'd like the Thing to actually say, well, actually, you know what? I technically am a rocket scientist. I've flown spacecraft. I fly every dang spacecraft that Reed Richards makes. I fly time craft. I fly dimension crafts. I fly everything that this crazed lunatic that I've known since college makes, and I fly it. I'm the guy that is navigating, temporal waves and dimensional rifts, and I'm the guy that flies us through that. So, the Thing's a smart guy, and so respect. That's all I'm saying. And that's something I don't think they showed enough respect to in the Ultimate Fantastic Four, because they altered the origin a lot, and they put Reed into like a special school for super geniuses, and the Thing was just in the Air Force and was visiting. He wasn't as we get later, a seasoned test pilot and smart guy. But anyway, so that's why I don't think we're ever going to see that movie, because I don't think Fox believes in that movie. I don't think a lot of Fantastic Four fans believe in that movie. Honestly, I don't even think that Josh Trank's fans believe in that movie, and I'm sure Josh Trank has fans because people apparently liked his superhero movie that he had previously done. Just not feeling it. And that was my big rant about the Fantastic Four. If you have a rant about the Fantastic Four that you would like to tell us about, feel free to send it to superconnectivityblog@gmail.com, or post it to our Facebook page, or to any of the Enough Said boards, or any of the boards on Southgate Media, which I need to get to because I need to start posting my crazy theories there as well.
Yeah, share your hatred.
Share your hatred of my podcast or anyone else's on the Enough Said boards. Do we get a lot of hatred on those boards? I actually have yet to go. Have you been to our boards yet, Phil?
Oh, the forum?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've put stuff up for my other shows, but yeah.
Do we get a lot of hatred there, or is it?
I haven't seen much. I haven't seen much activity yet.
Okay. Well, everyone, if you like my crazy rants, I'm going to go to our forums. I'm going to start posting this weekend. I will post some rants about how the Thing is awesome, and people don't give him enough respect. And if you think the Thing is awesome, or if you think the Thing sucks, you can respond to me. And we can have a very heated internet argument, because that's what the internet is for. And we have blown past the half-hour mark. But I think I think we might want to cut it here. What do you think, Phil? Do you have more to say?
No.
No? Okay. I have more to say. I have a lot more to say on lots of topics, from Squirrel Girl to Thanos. But at this point, we need to call it a night, and we're going to call it at a nice little 50-minute round mark. It's a little longer than your half-hour lunch break, but maybe you can listen to the rest in the car on the way home. Or if you're lucky enough to have an hour break, then I hope you've enjoyed it. And otherwise, this has been SuperConnectivity. Follow us you can follow me on Twitter at Charlie Esser, as well as on Facebook for Charlie Esser, associated with SuperConnectivity. And again, superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. And Phil, where can we find you?
I'm on Twitter at NightwingPDP. You can also find me. I do 2 other shows for Southgate Media Group: Before the Bat, our Gotham show, and the Flash Arrow Power Hour.
Great stuff to listen to after you're done listening to SuperConnectivity. And I hope you all are. And yeah, follow us and tweet us back and keep us in your loops. And we have more connections to make next week. And for now, I have been just plain old serious Charlie Esser.
And I'm just Phil.
And this has been SuperConnectivity. Have a great week.